Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a build guide for the Astral Domain Cleric in Baldur's Gate 3. This is a mod made by Havsglimt based on the Griffin Saddlebag, which introduces a reality bending cleric to the game. It gets a fun ability here at level 1 with the planar reach, which allows you to do your melee spells at a range of 9 meters. We can also create black holes pulling enemies in. We get access to some special spells. We also get guidance with this one here. Now, for this build, we'll be taking a few different cantrips here at level 1, like Toll the Dead, Resistance, and Sacred Flame. And I would recommend going with an ability score spread of something like this here. You can swap Dex and Constitution if you prefer, but we want to have our Wisdom at 16. You can put it to 17 if you're the face of the party, and use the Hags here to take it up to 18. Into level 2 is when we get our fun ability here, the Create Void, which does a 2d10 of force damage, creating a brief tear in the planar fabric, which leads to the astral plane, manifesting a powerful vacuum, which possibly forces each creature to be pulled towards the tear, using our Channel Divinity and a bonus action. We also get the Turn Undead as well, if you wanted to use that instead. And we get to prepare our spells here at the level up screen. I would recommend grabbing Command, Bless, Create Water if you have another caster on the team, Healing Word, and either Shield of Faith or going with a Sanctuary or Nice too. You can also then add in Inflict Wounds if you want, because you can do this at a range of 9 meters now with our ability that we got at level 1. Level 3 gives us some more spells. We get Invisibility and the Blur spell. We also get access to some of the more powerful level 2 spells, with Hold Person and Spiritual Weapon being top priority to grab. I like Hold Person, so that's the one I went with first. Level 4 gives us access to some good spells. I'd recommend actually Produce Flame. You can summon this in, hold it till long rest, and it'll give yourself a light source. This is really good on a cleric, so I'd recommend grabbing that. We'll then also throw on the Spiritual Weapon spell, although if you like Warding Bond, you can toss that on too. Now, if you want your cleric to go first, grab Alert. This will basically make them go first all the time. I like to take the Wisdom up a little bit more, so we're going to go with that just for better spell casting. Level 5 gives us access to Slow, an underrated spell, which can slow up to 6 creatures, making them much less effective in combat, and the Blink spell. Now, I think level 5 is the best time to use Slow because it starts to dip off in terms of effectiveness a little bit later on, but is really good at this level. We also then get access to Spirit Guardians. You guys know the deal, very powerful spell. And Glyph of Warding, which we can use a sleep glyph if you're a half elf, drop it at your feet, and drop everything around you to sleep, which gives free critical hits or just good crowd control. Level 6 gives us access to the Spatial Exchange, distort the fabric of reality to either teleport an unoccupied space you can see, or swap places with an ally. This can be really good if you want to throw your Barbarian into the heart of a bunch of attackers, because then the enemy AI might be more likely to attack them instead of you. We also get access to another spell here. I'm just going to stick with these spells from the base game. No Mistress spells, so we'll throw on Mass Healing Word, although you can use Mistress spells if you prefer. Level 7 gives us Banishment and Dimension Door, which is actually useful in like the Counting House and a few other places. And we can also grab like Death Ward or a Guardian of Faith if you prefer to have a defensive attacker alongside us. Level 8 gives us our potent spellcasting and add your Wisdom modifier to the damage you deal with Ranger or with Cleric cantrips, and then we also get access to another feat. At this point, I'd recommend grabbing the Alert feat here, and you can continue on as such. We'll also throw Death Ward on or Freedom of Movement if you prefer either of those spells. Now at level 9, we get access to Planar Binding and Telekinesis. Telekinesis, sometimes nice, you can throw enemies off of ledges. I'd recommend grabbing Insect Plague. It's decent because it sets up difficult terrain. You could also go with a Flame Strike there if you want a little bit of fire and radiant damage. Sometimes situational. Level 10 gives us our Divine Intervention. You can also grab Bursting Sinew there if you wanted it, and we'll throw on the Fire Radiant Explosion there. Now, at level 11, we get access to our best spell in the game with Planar Ally, giving you the Genie, which can push enemies off of ledges. We'll unprepare Flame Strike and throw on Hero's Feast because that's just a really nice buffing spell. And then at level 12, we got some options to make here. Now, you can take like Blade Barrier if you wanted to. We can also go back, since we want to be a good support, throw on Aid. So now you can use a free staff casting from like the Staff of Spell Power and cast yourself Aid, and then take off the staff and use another one like Mark Heshker to give yourself a free Planar Ally or something like Hero's Feast. So a lot of great options there. And you can go with and increase your Wisdom. If you use the Hags already, you can take up your Constitution or Dexterity as well. There's also things like the Warcaster if you're not using the Amulet of Greater Health. And you can even go with some of the other feats here if you prefer, but I'm just going to go with an increase to the Wisdom to max off that stat. Now this mod lets you go up to level 20, but it doesn't get any extra special abilities, so we'll leave it right there. I also am using the Celestial Threads outfit mod from Nexus Mods made by Aerodea. Alright, now for gear, I really like the Luminous Armor and anything that applies Radiating Orbs when you're playing a Cleric, just due to how easy it is to use Radiant damage on this, especially considering that we're able to use Spirit Guardians and then run around blasting with some of our other spells there. Now, we're going to run with the Luminous Armor, the Luminous Gloves. These are Act 1 items. You can go with the Armor of Agility if you want to play more defensively, and the Gloves of Belligerent Skies if you want something a little different for the gloves. We also got the Boots of Stormy Clamor, another Act 1 item. You can use the Evasive Shoes for better armor class if you wanted that instead, or even like the Dark Justiciar boots if you wanted to. We also got the Deathstalker Mantle. If you're the Dirge, this works great, turning invisible. I think this works with the Astral Plane, kind of disappearing. Cloak of Elemental Absorption or Cloak of Protection work great too. Now, on any build that uses Radiant Orbs, the Holy Lance Helm works great too. If the target misses you with an attack, they take 1d4 of Radiant damage, which is going to bring around some more damage onto them. So this works really good in conjunction with each other. And we also have the Coruscation Ring. Whenever you are illuminated by a light source, you can apply Radiating Orbs on an enemy when you cast a spell. And then we also deal additional 2 points of damage against targets that are illuminated, which again procs our gear. We also have the Amulet of Greater Health. I have the Held Rider Longbow on there for that +3 to our initiative. And I'm using, if you want to be more offensive, use the Markaheshkar. There's the Staff of Arcane Blessing Mistress spell, which gives you blessings. And this gives you a 2d4 benefit to your spell attack rolls, so use that in the early game. Otherwise, Markaheshkar is the best offensive one. I wouldn't really recommend it till obviously you can't get to late in the game. So there's other staffs you can use. This Morning Frost is great because this gives you a Ray of Frost using your Wisdom modifier, and can also apply Chilled if you have a Sorcerer on your team for double damage for them. It worked really well as a good support. The Creation's Echo is really nice too because if you deal damage, you become resistant to it for 2 turns. And then we also got the Staff of Cherished Necromancy if you really wanted to, because this will let you use things like your Create Undead spell if you wanted to. Min-maxing though, obviously Markaheshkar is a very powerful staff, and this gives you access to things like Chain Lightning, which you normally wouldn't get, and that becomes absurd when you consider the fact that we are going to add Radiant damage on top of it to debuff enemies, and also we got Spirit Guardians we can run around with. And what's absurd is if you're using the Hero's Feast and also casting with Aid, you can get your summon up to 200 health, so yeah, that genie is not going down anytime soon. Now, if you want to be extra cheeky, you can pre-cast Spirit Guardians on yourself, and also drop down a Glyph of Warding. I'll put the sleep one here, so if anyone comes at me, they're going to get dropped to sleep. And we're lucky that we can just run back here and deal radiant damage. So that is going to apply 4 stacks of Radiating Orbs, and it spreads them in an area of effect. So this actually affected this character here. And if we run over here and affect them, it's actually going to affect this one here. So this is how, yeah, now they have 6 stacks and 6 stacks. So the gear actually works really well. And I'm going to provoke this opportunity attack to show you guys that if they miss, they will then take radiant damage and get even further. They now have 8 stacks Radiating Orbs. So that's pretty funny. Yeah, you can get pretty crazy with this just depending on how you move around the enemies, as you're going to deal additional radiant damage to them if you move out of their range of attacks, and this can eat up their reactions as well if you know that they have something that you don't want them to use, like a counter spell. So lots of utility there. Spirit Guardian is obviously a very powerful spell. Now we're going to also then use something like our I was going to use Flame Strike, but I somehow unprepared that spell because we don't have many options for damage. That's the only downside. So I'm actually going to cast away with a Chain Lightning here over at this target here. I don't care if I eat the attack. I'm just going to try and spread damage around. We got extra radiant damage off, which will give us radiating orbs on the enemies here. So that is kind of nice too. We don't really have many options for spells outside of Glyph of Warning, so you're going to have to settle for that. Or use something like Guiding Bolt, which isn't always the best choice, but sometimes it's all you got. So yeah, you can get lucky with the crits. And the lightning charges that are coming off of this can give you a bit of further damage as well. I'm going to wait to use the, actually, no, we can probably use Create Void right now. This can suck all enemies together, and then what you can do is actually use that if I was thinking I would have threw it over there a bit more, but that was enough damage to take out one more target, so that worked. The Genie is really funny because sometimes you get lucky if the enemies are in a certain area. I was able to knock them into the water, but that's kind of the goal here. They also have a teleport, so they can position themselves really well. And we just took an enemy out because they attacked us and missed, and we had radiant damage, which blew them up with extra damage from our helmet there, which is great. Especially if Call the Weak, because an enemy can attack you, miss, and then end up just dying if they have like 20-some health left. Like, I really like with my sleep glyph and put the elemental to sleep. I actually have not seen an elemental sleep like that before. It's pretty funny. But I say I'm a Spirit Guardian, so night over. Now, again, we don't have many options for damage, so we're very limited to really just using glyphs. So those are decent, though, because we are going to proc a bit of extra damage off on them using elemental damage type that's not going to be resisted. I'm just going to use fire for the hell of it because it's like a mini fireball. That didn't work great, but again, I guess we could always use our Channel Divinity here if you wanted to ahead of time to use this to group everybody up, and you do a bunch of extra radiant damage there. That procced a bunch of extra cards to come after us, and then what we can do is then just drop our counter spell here on top of it, which will then explode and take out that remaining enemy there. Another nice thing about the Genie is if there's multiple enemies grouped up together, you can actually push them towards your team if you needed to. So we're low on options because I can't run back there. I'd love to throw a glyph in the back line, but we still have a Lightning Bolt, which is a good spell. I'll friendly fire because, yeah, that was all we needed to finish them off. So yeah, the extra radiant damage to apply Radiating Orbs, always going to be great on any type of cleric. Now, another thing is we got extra range on our attack. So if you were to use something at level 1, like your Inflict Wound spell, this gives you a melee or an increased range on it. That Create Void is super useful though, as you've seen, because you can chain that into a Glyph of Warding, as this is a bonus action into your Glyph of Warding. Pretty good for damage, or you can put them all to sleep if you wanted to. So yeah, you also have things like Slow, which you can use to group enemies together and then slow them all together. Got a lot of fun options. Let me know your thoughts though in the comments of the Astral Domain Cleric by Havsglimt. Hope you have a great day, and we'll catch you all in the next video.